Good morning, good evening, shall I say. It's post-market now. It's 25th of July, and this is my trade review for today. On my screen is the MES chart in the 5-minute. This morning I talked about being on a long bias. Quickly look at the hourly. So the hourly, where were we this morning? We were pushing up here. That's where we were, and it looked like we were going to break out. We had this double top, and then going on the daily chart, we're still in an uptrend, and we're always going to be in an uptrend until we're not, until we break down. And today we're still in it. Another strong day, taking out those two red days as well, and we've kind of made a double top. We'll be interested for tomorrow. So in the hourly, I had a couple of levels in mind. I was watching 46.05 for a possible short or break and retest. I was watching the weekly level, and I was watching 45.92 for a rejection or a break and retest, and then coming back down I was watching 45.76.50 for a bounce. And my bias was long, so I was waiting for it to break back down and bounce off these levels, which I wanted to go long with. So if I move into the 5-minute chart, so this is a 5-minute on the MES. So my entry today, I was biasing long. I saw it selling off, and we saw this big green bar on the open. It's on high volume, but it's the opening candle, and then we started to push up, but the volume was declining. So on this volume declining, I got in on the test of the VWAP just there. And again, I try not to look at volume when it opens because the volume is so high, very hard to judge. So instead of me being put off by declining volume, which normally shows weakness, which obviously you can see it wasn't, I then just decided to do the break and retest on the VWAP. It was above all the moving averages as well, and it's within this supply zone, which could technically be a distribution zone, the demand zone I meant. And we haven't quite broken through it, but we're in it. So I was confident going long, and that's the idea, to go long today. So my entry was on the VWAP just here as I retested it. It might be now actually. My stop was the bottom of this red zone, and so you can see didn't go anywhere near that stop all day today. My first out was up here on this level, 45.92. It was a short level, but because we had a strong push up, it's either going to break and retest, and I would have looked for an add, but instead we kind of hovered around this area. We broke back down through the weekly, and I did add again on the VWAP. I was only in small contracts because it wasn't a level, it was just a play I decided to take to go with the trend. So I think I was in 2 contracts here, took out 1 there, come back down another 2 here, and at one point I was in 4 contracts. I think I added when it got back to here as well. So I was in half my normal size by this point. My stop was still down here, and then we had decline in volume. So this is when I start watching the volume from about 10:30 onwards, and so we had this big sell-off, which was on average volume, so it didn't look very weak at all, that sell-off. So again, I was confident we were going to be pushing up, so I held on to my contracts, my MES shares, and then we had this nice big push up. It's a great push up. One thing I should have done, so my out was there, and I think I got out was there again, and my final out was up here, and that's because I saw this volume spike, and I thought that might be an end in volume. And for a while I thought I was right, because it did pull back again, but what it really did was to create this nice bull flag. Look at that. And it was this wedge. This wedge was setting up, and I wasn't involved on this move up. I just watched it push up. So then I was watching for a low volume area because I wanted to go long. So what I did do though, I did go long here. So it came round, pulled into this 20 moving average, and I went long just for the push up. It was only a small position, wasn't much. I think I was out about here anyway. and then later on in the day I saw it push up through this level, and I was watching for a possible rejection. So one thing I was watching for was a hammer candle, and I'm going to go into the 2-minute chart because the 2 minutes is what I was really watching. I generally trade off the 5, but this is the interesting thing. This is what made me want to go short. So going back to the 2 again, I saw this volume spike, and which was this down candle with a topping tail, which might have looked like we were putting in a double top. So that got my interest, and then there was looking for a low volume candle. And then we had another higher than average volume bar, but we had again more topping tails. Then what really took my interest was this hammer candle here, this bottom tail candle. So, but it's on very low volume. I think it was pretty close to, well below average volume. So and the reason for that is because the insiders or the smart money are looking to do a test of the market. They push it down to see whether there's any buyers pushing it back up, and obviously where it's low volume, there was no buyers ready to push it back up. So the next candle then was a big candle, volume above average volume, and so that's probably market makers buying and selling just the last lot of shares and just mopping up the rest at the top. And then we saw this double bottom. So my entry, and where were we? Let's have a look. So there was an anomaly as well, which I'll go back to. So we saw this hammer candle on low volume. That candle there on low volume, and then even on lower volume was this wide range bar. And the reason that's an anomaly because it was lower volume than the previous bar, but it's a wide range bar, so not a narrow bar. So that means there's weakness in the buyers, and so I got in on this candle, which I saw it hit a high of 409, close to one of my levels I was watching. In fact, this area, if you go back a day and a half, was some topping tails, and high of the day I think on Thursday last week. So used that as my stop area, the top of those tails. So I got in short there, only 2 contracts. Again, I was already up for the day. I don't want to ruin or give back any profit, and it's quite a tight stop, and I ran it down. I waited. I should have added, but I thought about adding here, but I didn't, and I took profit when it came back down to this area, which was this in, and I only took profit there, and that was my one of 2 contracts when I see an increase in volume. But then we had the decrease in volume on this pullback, so I held on to my last contract, and I held to the end of the day. Again, watching volume. I can't remove that. There we go. I can't delete the pictures, the drawings. That's fine. So I'm not sure why I can't remove these drawings. I think the application's crashed. But anyway, so eventually I got out just before we got to the VWAP, again on high volume at the end of the day, and I got a bit nervous. I got out on the 200 moving average just there, and it did actually go right through to my target, which was the VWAP. So that was a good trade coming down. So that's just a nice, didn't make a massive amount, it's only a 2 contract, but it's nice to be involved on the move back down, and we all love a good sell off at the end of the day. Right, hopefully you had a good day trading. We've had earnings tonight from Microsoft, I think, and Google. Microsoft, I think when I last looked, Microsoft wasn't looking too rosy. Okay, it's recovered a bit now, all those topping tails. Maybe tomorrow looks like a nice little short for tomorrow. And Google, look at that, it's gained almost $10 just in the aftermarket. So Google's doing okay and Microsoft is not. Microsoft lost almost $20 at one point. So anyway, have a good night, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.